Welcome back to Movies on TV Podcast Industries. We're here with our spoiler-filled discussion of Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. Or as it's known now, Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey. Welcome back, movie fans. This is Movies on TV Podcast Industries. We're here talking about Harley Quinn in her movie, was known as Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn, and is now known as Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey. But it will be spoiler-filled, and I'm one of your hosts, Derek.
Hello there, fellow movie boffins. I am one of your other hosts, John.
And rounding out the trio of our Birds of Prey, I am Chris. And also, I'm a big fan of SEO, so I approve the change in the title.
I wasn't going to be able to fit this into the name of the episode, so I'm really glad that there's no and or the in there as well, so it's quite happy.
Just do really small text.
That's not how it works. It's the number of letters, John, as I've been learning over the years, learning SEO as well. But SEO is not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about our spoiler-filled discussion of Birds of Prey, the new movie from DC.
Go!
Boffin and cawing. I like it. I like it.
I'm expecting like Assassin's Creed, actually, where it's just a screech at the bird of prey. Then I jump off a building, but don't land anywhere near.
Superhero landing, superhero.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
I just land on my back and go, ow.
Not as graceful as Altair then, unfortunately.
No. Or a splat.
Hopefully not, because we need you for the rest of the episode, John, so please do not jump out any windows. Hopefully you've seen the movie Harley Quinn. If you haven't seen it yet, run out and see it. Guys, overall, what did you think of this movie? Before we get into any kind of spoiler-filled discussion, just an overview of what you thought of this movie. Is it worth people going to see? Chris?
Fantabulous. It's a great R-rated romp of fun. I saw it 24 hours ago now, still thinking about it. I'm still enjoying parts of it, still giggling at other parts of it. Is it DCEU or is it just DCU now? Who knows? It's one of the best films in that genre right now or that category of DC films. Definitely top.
I think they just call them live action DC films. They've never committed to that DCEU. That's very much a Marvel fan thing, isn't it? Where we used to watch MCU movies because they're all connected, whereas DC are very happy to put out a movie like Joker last year, Oscar-winning Joker now. They're very happy to put out a movie like that and then put out a movie like Harley Quinn, not connected at all, not even the same character, but there's some connections to other movies that have happened in the past, as we'll talk about, I'm sure, when we get into the episode.
Yeah, good stuff. I'm all for DC on that. Well done.
What did you think overall on this one, John? Should people run out and see this one?
I think so. I mean, it's just a good romp, and it's a good R-rated romp as well. It's brash, which is what Harley Quinn is. It's good fun. It moves along at pace. The story is really short, but the way they do it, actually, with flashbacks and all this kind of stuff, is really interesting. I really like that. And Margot Robbie is just a great portrayal of Harley Quinn in this. Yeah. She's great. It's bubblegum with a massive mallet that could come swinging for your jaw at any moment. It's great.
On roller derby roller skates.
Yes.
Exactly. Any thoughts, guys? This movie hasn't opened hugely in the US, and I was thinking about it, about 50% of fans of comic book movies are female fans, right? And this is definitely a female-led movie, directed by Cathy Yan, a female director, written by Christina, Hodson, a female writer. Any idea why it may not have sold that well to the audience in the US?
I mean, I don't know. There's probably whole host of things. Maybe they're glued to the Democratic race at the moment. I have no idea. But it's doing well internationally, and I think good on it. It may have its audience internationally rather than in the US. So I'm sure DC are going to, from a purely financial point, make their money back. Yep. But for sure, maybe it's just the time of year. Maybe with the snow in the Northeast and Northwest, they can't get out to the cinema or something. Who knows?
Yeah. And the reason I'm saying it is because the name has been changed, as I've referenced already. The name has been changed in this movie to Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey. I personally think Birds of Prey are quite small characters. They're not known that well outside of people that watch the cartoons and people that read comic books. So I kind of feel people will be going to the cinema going, what's that movie again? The one with Harley Quinn in it? Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's not showing here. I'll go and see something else. So maybe just changing that title and that word of mouth getting out there about go and see the Harley Quinn movie after people have seen the first weekend might boost it in the second weekend.
They are going up against Sonic the Hedgehog this weekend.
So it should do very well.
That's reviewing crazy well, which is interesting. This film reviewed crazy well, but you're right. I was calling it the Harley Quinn film, and I know Birds of Prey. Yeah. I know who they are and what they do, and I've known about them for years, and still, it's the Harley Quinn film. I additionally think some people potentially feel burnt by Justice League, and people also then burnt by Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Even though Margot Robbie and the whole host of all the actors, actresses have come out and said, no, it's not connected. You don't need to have seen Suicide Squad to understand this. But there is a level to that as well. So I think it's a lot of things. I do think it will do very well this week because Valentine's Day.
Right.
Valentine's Day is always a big cinema night weekend for people. If they can get some of the right marketing done in the next couple of days, you'll have people going, let's go to the cinema. What do you want to see? Comic book lovers will go, okay, let's go see Birds of Prey. And their partners who aren't a comic book fan will go, oh, well, okay, well, I've heard good things.
Yeah. And
I liked Harley Quinn, Margot Robbie. So yeah, let's go see. So it will probably see a surge because the other option is let's go to the cinema. What do you want to see? Well, there's this hedgehog that runs really fast and Jim Carrey's in it. Yeah. It's live action with CGI and the thing looks really weird. Do you want to do that?
No.
No.
No, we don't. That's it. That's the spoiler-free part of our discussion on this. Go out and see the movie is pretty much what all three of us are saying. We're going to talk about this for a little while. We're going to get in depth on the movie. So if you haven't seen it, this is the time to pause us and come back to us afterwards. We'll be talking in full detail about it. If you want to hear more of what we do, make sure you subscribe to us over on tvpodcastindustries.com. You can hear any of our podcasts about any of the shows that we're covering. We're currently covering Star Trek Picard. Soon we'll be going in depth into Penny Dreadful, another show that we've loved in the past, leading up to the brand new 4th season of Penny Dreadful called Penny Dreadful City of Angels. So we're going all over the place in some interesting ways with our TV podcasting.
Exactly. We've also had The Witcher. And before that, Watchmen. So, if you want to catch those out, go on to any good or evil podcast catcher of your choice. You can check out some of the options over on our website at tvpodcastindustries.com.
You can also help keep the lights on by going to patreon.com/tvpodcastindustries and by tossing us $1 if you like what we do and help keep, as I said, the lights on, the podcast mic going, and more importantly, the internet connection so we can upload our audio vocal platitudes directly into your ears. You can also share your Puddin's love by sharing the podcast, throwing us a like, or also just a nice review. 5 stars always goes down well on Valentine's Day.
Right. You're back from the cinema. You've seen the movie. You know how crazy it is. We're actually going to probably break how they showed the story in the movie, and we're probably going to go this a bit more linearly than it's done in the film, because it is told in a non-linear fashion, very similar to like a Quentin Tarantino movie or that kind of movie where something happens and then you flash back a little while and the story's told in a different way.
But enough of that. Derek, do you want to give us some production details?
Absolutely, yes. This movie was directed by Cathy Yan. This is only her second full-length feature film after her 2018 dark comedy Dead Pigs. I really need to watch that actually after watching this movie. I'm really excited to see what else she's done in the past. That's quite cool that she's done just one movie and then gets a massive DC movie, isn't it?
Well, I'd love to know what the subject matter of Dead Pigs is, actually.
I'm assuming porcine and death, just going out on a limb.
They probably go well together.
Yeah, exactly.
Or it's a really bad take on our law enforcement. But who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows? It could be a documentary about making bacon.
Maybe. But the movie was written by Christina Hodson. Most well known recently, she wrote the Bumblebee movie, the best Transformers movie since the whole series began. Maybe even the best one of the entire series. I definitely remember fondly watching the first movie, getting quite excited about it, and then getting to the end of it and going, I haven't actually seen any robots. There's a lot of metal hitting each other over and over again, whereas Bumblebee kind of took it back to a really good storyline, and it was really good fun, actually, to watch.
Yeah, Bumblebee was great. Loved it.
Mm-hmm. Also, probably important to note that this movie was produced by Margot Robbie, and her whole production company was involved in getting this to the screen. This is something that it was a passion project for her to do a follow-up to Suicide Squad starring Harley Quinn, because she really does enjoy playing the character. So quite cool that she's the one that's kind of brought this out of the gates into DC world, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think fair dues to old Margot for doing it, because I think you really do get that sense that she enjoys playing this character for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the whole team are the Birds of Prey. It's just kind of a nice misfit grouping, which is really good and good to have back on the screen, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I highly recommend any of our listeners check out, just literally Google Margot Robbie on YouTube, interview Birds of Prey. She did one, I know, with Jimmy Fallon. She's done a couple with like Seth Meyers and things like that. Well, she was doing the circuit last week,
mm-hmm.
and she's told the story of everyone was like, "Oh yeah, like this is taking a while to get." She's actively said, yeah, like she started pitching this directly after Suicide Squad.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially it was an uphill battle. She makes the joke of like, yeah, a female written and directed, produced by a female, all-star female cast, about the female Birds of Prey team, and me, no joker. It's been an uphill battle. And she was like, she was very actively open, but she's like, she's so happy about how it came together, and she's so happy. I was going to say, it's not like she doesn't have any skin in the game. Obviously she does. Mm-hmm. She is not only the executive producer, but she's the star. But actually more than that, as John said, she enjoys the role.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, to me, she's starting to become as kind of iconic in the role as you would assume, like as Mark Hamill as the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
That take on it is now becoming potentially the most well-known.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm delighted that she's brought this back to the screen. It didn't quite take as long as Deadpool coming to the screen, 10 years of work. This was 4 or 5 years, but they had film proof that Margot Robbie played a great Harley Quinn, and nobody really had any complaints about her as Harley Quinn. I think what a lot of people had a complaint about is just the general relationship between Harley Quinn and Joker. So kind of a good choice here to kind of break that off as this movie kicks off. Generally, just an overview of the cast that we have here. Harley Quinn's played by Margot Robbie. Rena Montoya played by Rosie Perez. Great to see her back in cinema again. Huntress is played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Sorry. The crossbow killer. Not the Huntress, it's the crossbow killer. But yeah, she is played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
They call her the Huntress, she says to many, many people. She calls herself the Huntress.
No, hang on. No, I think you've both got it wrong. It's Helena Bertinelli.
True.
Do you know, I love the tick she has in the movie where she keeps saying to people, do you know who I am? And then shooting them before they can realize who she is.
The crossbow killer.
No, it's Huntress. Anyway, going back to the rest of the cast. Cassandra Cain, played by Ella Jay Basco. Black Canary, Dinah Lance, played by Journey Smollett-Bell, who does all her own singing in the movie as well. A beautiful voice. Some great moments where she is the proper canary singing in the club. Of Roman Sionis, the other big cast member in the movie, Ewan McGregor, a Scottish actor putting on a great American accent and really enjoying himself in this movie.
Yeah, definitely. And he brings that menace as well, because there is that moment in his club where he is effectively degrading one of his female patrons, and it's a really interesting pop out of ultimately what is a massively sort of roller coaster ride, fun, extravagant, colourful, dark humoured movie, but it's really interesting. It's a great take.
Mm-hmm. That moment particularly definitely gave me the impetus to want this character dead by the end of the film. That moment where you realise this is just an overprivileged kid, basically, who's grown up in a family, has all the money in the world, and is treating everybody around him like crap, and has been getting away with it over and over again because of his sidekick, Victor Zsasz, who, if anybody knows Batman, if anybody knows the villains of Batman. Victor Zsasz is the crazy one who just kills because he loves killing. We have Chris Messina playing him in this role. Can I just go back to our Gotham TV podcast days and say I really do wish we had Anthony Carrigan reprising his role as Victor Zsasz, because he makes a much better Zsasz than Chris Messina does. I absolutely loved his version of Zsasz on the small screen. I wish he'd made the jump to the big screen. That just doesn't often happen in DC, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think Victor just didn't pop in this. The take on the character Victor Zsasz, it just didn't pop in the same way that Anthony Carrigan sort of captured the nutty, psychotic craziness. With fun. Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's see what did pop. John, do you want to give us the synopsis for Birds of Prey and the fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn?
Sure. Harley Quinn puts the finishing touches to her relationship with the Joker by blowing up Ace Chemicals where her story began. This drunken act lifts the protection of the clown prince of crime that she had enjoyed for years. To save herself, Harley agrees to find the Bertinelli diamond for a crazed, black mask-wearing businessman, Roman Sionis. She quickly finds out that a young thief, Cassandra Cain, has hidden the priceless diamond by swallowing it. While they wait for the laxatives, prune juice, and chilies to take effect, Detective Rennie Montoya, Black Canary, and Huntress all track them down to help Cassandra from the bounty on her head. As Roman Sionis bears down with an army of mercenaries, the five ladies form a tentative pact to rid Gotham City of this sleazebag.
I suppose the first thing I want to pop up before we get into our kind of top 5 talking points about this movie. First thing I want to pop up, this is Harley Quinn. This is her movie. And then eventually we get to the point where the Birds of Prey are formed at the end of the film. But I must admit I was very surprised that this group didn't get together until that kind of final moment. It seemed like an odd way to sell your film based on these characters, some of them not appearing on screen together until those last couple of minutes for that final battle. I just thought it was kind of interesting where I was going, hang on a second, are we seeing any more of these other characters interacting at all? But fun nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, I just took that because they were so different. You know, one's on a revenge mission, Helena Bertinelli. You've got a detective of the GCPD, which is not a natural fit for Harley Quinn. And then someone who technically is working for Roman Sionis. So it is a disparate, sort of uneasy grouping, but through different strands of Harley's fractured kind of mind, which of course is our point number one. They kind of come together, which is good.
Chris, do you want to kick us off with our point number one? The storytelling of this movie is the fractured mind of Harley Quinn. Really, that she's the narrator for the film. We kick off with a cartoon intro. Another great surprise where we have this voiceover from Harley Quinn. I actually thought they were going to take all this stuff from the cartoon itself. Completely different art style and completely different from the cartoon in the opening bit. What did you think of the fractured storytelling throughout this movie?
So I loved it. For me, it tells that fantabulous mindscape that is Harley Quinn's
definitely
brain. So this kind of fractured storytelling directly leads to her, the way that she would tell a story, the way she does tell a story. And like, it really does connect you to Harleen Quinzel. It's because you get that, the PhD's psychologist, and it's very lucid and telling a correct story. And then you get Harley Quinn, who literally is scattered.
Yeah.
And kind of goes everywhere. So this cartoon opening was fantastic because I didn't know how they were going to comment up to a lot of parts of it. So like, cause yeah, not everyone's going to have seen Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
So they catch you up on everything very quickly. Not everyone's going to know the birth of Harley Quinn. So they have to kind of put that in. And I really enjoyed it. Like, you get the backstory very quickly, but then you get thrown into, okay, here's me telling a story. Well, actually, do you know what? I'm going to tell this story. I'm going to tell it my way. And we're going to start at this point first.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, no, wait. I need to go back and explain this other bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's how you tell a story to a friend usually. Unless you're like a very accredited storyteller, you're talking to your friend, you're telling a story. The one thing I know we'll probably get to the end in a while, but I was expecting at the very last scene for her to be talking to someone and telling the story.
Oh, really?
Like, I thought it was going to be that very much Deadpool like bit where she closes a book or she's talking to Poison Ivy.
Right.
Or she's speaking to the big bat. And it's just like, you don't see it, you just see kind of like someone from behind.
And I think that's kind of the fun thing about this movie, though, that it is probably Harley telling the story to herself. You know, she's kind of, she is that fractured that she's probably telling her own origin story out loud to herself, but she's also talking to the audience as well. I must say, it kind of seeging directly into her going on that epic bender after breaking up with her pudding with Joker. You know, we never get to see Jared Leto's version of the Joker. Not even the cartoon version looks anything like Jared Leto's version of the Joker. He played him in Suicide Squad, in case you haven't seen that film, but you've probably seen that version of Joker in at least one or two memes on the internet. But I kind of love that it just moved into this massively difficult breakup. You think that Harley Quinn's absolutely fine, she's grand, and then she's drinking, throwing up in people's handbags, smashing stuff in Sionis' club, breaking the driver's legs. I remember sitting in the cinema with you, John, watching it, and that was the first moment that John just absolutely winced as these two pairs of legs just split in half, basically, as she jumps on them.
It's that image of the knee going in the opposite direction from where, you know, how it's designed. And I was just like, I just winced. But what a great kind of sort of fight in Sionis' club. But yeah, I love this fractured mind. It just plays to who Harley is. It's kind of, and then she gets distracted because of whatever. But there is a method to her madness as she takes you through this story in this fractured way. I mean, even just the fact that you kind of have that flashback of only 4 minutes, which I thought was hilarious.
4 minutes.
You know, it's just a nice little gag in there, and there's so much kind of going on. You do kind of have to keep pace with it because she's going back here, going back there. You know, we have sort of the history of Bertinelli Diamond and the family and the connections and what kind of Roman Sionis is doing as well that pieces it all together. Yeah. So, you know, she's massively in the know. But I loved the flashback just before where she puts, she's surrounded by Sionis' men after the word has gone out that she no longer has the protection of the Joker, and she just raises the white flag and goes, "Parlay." I just really like that. Yep. Just delivered so funny. Yeah, that was great. And that egg sandwich to be a driver for the movie was really good. And you know, despite some of the things that seem to have gone in it, I kind of agree. I was like, going, that looks gorgeous.
It does look amazing.
Yeah.
I was salivating.
It is amazing. I love her description of it at the end where she goes, "I don't know if it's the stray Armenian arm hair or that cheese that's 6 months out of date, but it is the best sandwich I've ever tasted." Fabulous.
It looks so tasty.
It did. It really did. But I love the flow through again. You know, she is drunk all the way through this bender at Sionis' club, and then she makes this decision to go up and blow up Ace Chemicals. Again, any Batman fan or anybody that has known anything about the Joker, most of his origin stories feature Ace Chemicals, and that transferred into the origin of Harley Quinn as well. So both of these characters being created in Ace Chemicals for most of the stories. There's some other origin stories as well out there. But I love this iconic location being blown up and effectively turning into fireworks. Again, you're wondering whether this is just in Harley Quinn's mind that these fireworks are going off, or is it actually there on location? Are the actual fireworks going off as this place explodes? You know, it's very likely it's just going on in her head, but it does lead her into going, you know, I make my best decisions when I'm drunk, and then the aftermath the following morning is her going for the perfect egg sandwich because she needs to take care of that hangover she now has.
But again, it's like her attack on the GCPD where she's trying to go and get Cassandra from the cell. And I just love the colour powder and the glitter coming out of her gun. And in fact, the gun's probably a damn sight safer than her fighting, because like some of those cops got a pretty rough deal once she ran out of ammo. But yeah, I prefer to have been shot by the glitter. That would have been quite nice. I would have looked fabulous on my deathbed. Or if I needed foundation to go on a night out, and the powder would have just caked on a nice kind of foundation, a blue, a hint of blue, a hint of red. Would have been good.
Is that like Homer's makeup shotgun from The Simpsons?
Yeah, exactly.
I just loved all this part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even going to lie. It's just like, I know you said, yes, those explosions could have been in her head, and they may well been, but for me, it was just the choice to do that glittery, the fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
It fit into that neon-y look and feel, the choice by the director to make it that way. The cinematographer, I should say. Sorry, apologies. It just, that art style, it just all blended so well.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, people have seen, TV shows like Gotham went on for 100 episodes and it's seen as this dark, dank city. We've seen the Dark Knight movies with Christian Bale and Christopher Nolan working together and doing this really dark city, gritty city. But you can imagine it in this crazy mind of Harley Quinn. In her mind, everything's full of lights because she's able to go and steal whatever she wants to, and she has the protection of the Joker, and she's kind of able to do whatever she wants to in the city. So it's kind of like a playground for her at times. And that's why I'm thinking that these explosions, especially because you hear the noises of firecrackers and stuff going off. So you're probably thinking that's part of her little, part of her own little brain chemistry that's doing that. One thing I did love about the choice for Harley Quinn in this movie, I love that you see or hear her psychiatrist persona coming through quite often. She tends to analyze everybody around her in her psychiatric speak, where she's effectively going, that's a childhood trauma waiting to happen kind of thing. As she's talking to people and going, oh, well, I know your daddy left you. I don't need the speech. I know that you just want to take over. That's an ill-timed or an ill-judged way to do your plan. I don't need to hear any of that. All I want to do is get out of here, I love that she uses all of her knowledge in this movie, because she hasn't really been like that before in movies and in cartoons. She hasn't really had that side of things. She does have it in the comics, that the character has evolved quite significantly when written by a good writer. But I think she's written by a good writer here.
100%. And those moments not only lead to comedic value, so that there is that point in the third act when they're in the room and she kind of just butts in with that speech or that piece, and then goes, should we get burritos after this? And it's just, it leads to that humor. Yeah. But at the same time, as you said, it evolves the character outside of My Little Puddin'. Like, it just, it really just rounds out, fleshes, and also evolves the character that we know, if you've read some of these great comic books, that it's a very strong character with really good emotional depth. I'll give a great example as well, is if anyone hasn't seen it, the cartoon, Harley Quinn. It's amazing. It's Kaylee Cuoco, and it's just fantastic. Yeah. But it's the same thing where for a lot of people, Harley Quinn is the sidekick or the girlfriend of Joker. And in the recent years, they've expanded out on this character and really made her own character, her own anti-hero. And it's just as you said, when it's written well by a great writer, the character just comes to life. In this, she's funny, but at the same time, you're like, oh, that's true. You're a psychologist. Yeah, that's probably what that means.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it feels like that's always been left on the table by writers. They had the opportunity to use it and they just didn't use it. They made the choice not to. So having it on the big screen and having it out there for a more popular place, I suppose, for people to see it. You can read the comic books, of course, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people want to sit down in front of a movie for 2 hours and be entertained. And then that's their only impression of a character like Harley Quinn. And you'll have people going, why is Oscar-nominated actress Margot Robbie interested in playing this character? Why the hell would she want to just put pigtails on and go around on roller skates? She's got so much more depth to her, and they get there sometimes. You're talking about the cartoon. I watched 4 episodes of it back to back the other night, and it is crazy. Just it's not your daddy's Batman animated series. I haven't heard the F word uncensored in a cartoon other than South Park for a very long time, and seeing it over and over again by every character from Batman to Joker to Harley Quinn is quite funny, as well as the leg breaking and the blood that's going on all the way throughout the show. It's a really interesting watch. Definitely recommend that one as well.
Yeah, it is. It's really good. And I think, like, coming to that, I think the Montoya chase as well, where literally everyone in Gotham suddenly realizes that she isn't protected. She's not underpinned by the Joker anymore, is just really good. Where, and you get the writing coming on the screen saying what their grievance with her. And it's just really good. But you have this moment where even the GCPD are kind of like, okay, we're going to go after her now because the Joker's not around, and Detective Montoya is chasing her around, and there's a whole range of other people chasing her, and there's just that last moment where all of them die effectively, apart from Montoya, because of a crash that goes into this, and it's all just blind luck, and she says it, and it's just a great little kind of foot chase scene, to be honest, of all these people trying to get at Harley Quinn. And each time you get the grievance coming up, although with some, it's like, I don't know. I can't remember.
Like, I pissed off a lot of people in this city. I also love during the chase that she got distracted by a sparkly handbag that went really well with her their jacket. Just stopped for that split second too long to let alcoholic Montoya catch up with her, basically.
Can we just pause for 1 second on our points and discuss the costumes? Oh my god, the choice, the costume designer on this was just on point.
Yeah, fantastic stuff, yeah.
Harley Quinn, they've evolved her out of her Daddy's Girl or Daddy's Issue 1 in Suicide Squad.
Right.
And they've given her full personality, so she's got this fantastic yellow ensemble towards the end. She's got her Rolly Derby outfit, she's got her clubbing outfit. But then you even go towards Montoya, who is her grizzled cop, and then she's with she's wearing a loner T-shirt from the Lost and Found, which is so definitely good. Interesting. I shaved my balls for this, literally on her T-shirt or a shirt, I should say, and it's just, and then like say Huntress's comic accurate costume esque, but even then like Black Canary when she's in her club bit. And then going towards the later on where she said they've taken that comic booky looking feel to a degree to some of the costumes, and I could honestly see people wearing everything that they've worn, the kind of over the top in everyday life. I'm not saying because it's hipster, but I can honestly see a lot of people cosplaying for Halloween.
Oh, without a doubt.
And
absolutely.
Not doing it as like, oh, I need to wear the sexy clown outfit. It's going to be, oh no, this is a really cool one. I'm not showing off crazy amounts of cleavage. It's body positive. It's everything in between. I just loved the costume design. Yeah,
really, really cool. I love they took their cues from what has been around before and just made it something more realistic. Absolutely. Exactly as you say. Let's get on to our second big point, really, because it's the team that's in this movie. The movie is about getting this team together. Rene Montoya, you've already talked about it a little bit, but we've talked about Rene Montoya quite a lot, John, because
love this character.
Right back to Gotham TV podcast days, before we even started talking about the show, we were talking about the comic books where Rene Montoya was such a major character in there. Great to see her brought to the big screen.
And Gotham Central as well, a great set of comics that revolves around GCPD with Rene Montoya and her partner Crispus Allen. It was great to have her in a movie here, and bringing out a lot of the stuff there, that she is a lesbian and has her ex there, who is, I think, a lawyer or district attorney.
Assistant district attorney, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You've got her alcoholism as well, which, is a huge part of some of the story arcs in her for her character. And there's her former partner as well, who in this case isn't Crispus Allen, but is made captain basically on the back of all her great detective work. Mm-hmm. And there is a slight hint that she can reform crime scenes in her head, which you've gotten from the comics as well. Mm-hmm. That she's kind of got this knack, this kind of superpower is not the right word, but effectively, a feeling for crime scenes, which was really nicely played out in the Italian restaurants as well.
Shut up, I'm working.
Yeah, exactly. As her new partner is like a complete and utter dimwit who is like, can't put anything together. Yeah. So I'm really just pleased as well with how Rosie Perez plays her. I mean, just as you say, Chris, her wearing, the Lost and Found t-shirt with "I shaved my balls for this," just the look on her face is so nicely done. And I love the fact that, she becomes part of the Birds of Prey.
Yeah. And I do think it's quite interesting that she mentions that the captain was her former partner, so knows her very well, but really treats her
really badly.
Treats her really badly. Like, that idea where she's wearing that t-shirt and he's like, we have a dress code here, are you drunk again kind of thing, over and over to her, just giving out to her, even though she tends to be someone that does get her criminals. She tends to be the person that solves a lot of cases. So, she is out of there. Understandable that she leaves the GCPD in this movie, basically. Doesn't want to work within that environment anymore, right?
Yeah, no, completely. And they don't sugarcoat the reason. Like, it's not subtle as why, or it's based, they're all a-holes.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody just treats her really badly in there. Let's talk about Cassandra Cain a little bit. Chris, you know a little bit about Cassandra Cain outside of this movie, right?
Yes, this is a weird one.
Very different in the movies from comic books, right?
Yeah, so Cassandra Cain is one of the Batgirls. Her father was an assassin, and she was raised by the stepfather she was never taught to speak. She was silent, and essentially was only ever taught to fight, and went on to become Batgirl, then Black Bat, and then is now in the current DC comic books as Orphan. So it's a very strange one to have her as this street thief.
Yeah.
So I don't know where they're going with this. I think potentially it's weird. They could have called her anything. So I think there was probably at a certain point they were going to make her Batgirl or Orphan or something. And then they didn't, or there is a sequel lined up in their heads of where they want to go with this.
Yeah, maybe.
And make her, she's Orphan and Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
The duo kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, that specifically is set up in here saying she has no parents and moved around foster family to foster family. There's a little story that they could bring out in future. The other story, her creation of the comic book of her going around and being trained by assassins, sounds very like Helena Bertinelli's story, doesn't it? So
yes.
Can't imagine you're going to have those two characters having such a similar origin in the movie. You have to kind of pare those things down and make them distinct characters. So having the street urchin, I suppose, who kind of knows Dinah Lance, who lives in the same apartment block as her, having that connection there, and then having her kind of meet up with Harley at her lowest and believe that what Harley's become is actually amazing. She kind of really wants to become like Harley, even though Harley thinks that she's at her lowest ebb right now. I kind of like that relationship between the two of them, where it feels like she's just found her new role model, and Harley Quinn's going, I can't even find dinner today,
Yeah.
But the 37 rules, that's the most important thing. When you get to rule 37, I found it so strange they chose the name. It feels to me it was it's either something that they're building to, or that it was a plan at one point and then just didn't go down that way.
Yeah.
But she is a good urchin. The character is really well done. I do love that they live in Anus Constructions.
I did see that, yeah.
Anus Property. So it should be Janus Properties. But yeah, that was fun. There's a few of them littered about, and I know there's going to be more when I get my hands on this. I'm going to be able to freeze frame a bit, because I saw two, Anus Cosmetics or Janus Cosmetics, called from the comic books, and Janus Construction or Anus Construction.
Well, speaking of Anus, of course, she does swallow the diamond, and I really liked how she's gaffer taped effectively to the toilet in Booby Trap. There's prune juice. There's laxatives. There's a great supermarket sweep where they get all the laxatives. I think there's a few other things, and it's still not budging. Yeah. I reckon chuck a fig roll in there, and it would have gone before you knew it.
No, it's the burrito, man. The burrito always does it. I can swear, I can speak from personal experience. Anytime I have a problem, it's like, you know what, I'm going to get a burrito with some extra spicy sauce and everything.
Nice. Cigarettes and coffee.
Excellent stuff.
Cigarettes and coffee do it.
Yes, welcome to Movies on TV podcast industries, exactly. Where we will sort out your irritable bowel syndrome, for sure. But
aren't you glad that we only do 4 or 5 of these movies a year?
Exactly. High fiber indeed, but it didn't seem to be working.
Absolutely, but I do like the threat to begin with from Harley Quinn when they go into the supermarket. And it's like, it's either the prune juice or I get that knife over there and it's coming out of you through your stomach. Basically, okay, I'll take the prune juice.
Yeah. I did like it when she enters into Harley Quinn's apartment as well. She just goes, this apartment is dope. She's kind of really in on it. And of course, it's where we're introduced to Bruce, the hyena, which is really, really good as well.
Named after Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Yes.
The hunky billionaire.
I like that. Yeah.
That was really cool. I must say, I was really kind of, oh my goodness, Bruce isn't dead, is he? When the apartment's attacked by Sionis' guys. But yeah, nicely done. And sort of, I think, again, on the trail, Margot Robbie was saying that, I think it was on Graham Norton, where she did kind of joke with Graham Norton saying, oh yeah, no, we had a trained hyena. And he was like, really? And she goes, no, way too dangerous, way too unpredictable. Apparently there is one, but even then it's like,
nobody move.
Yeah, there's kind of one that's fit for sort of being on films. And they went to see it and it was like, no, definitely not. So it was an actual dog then with the CGI of the hyena over it. So the whole red licorice was, and, you know, going to Lady and the Tramp, it was with some hound underneath it. So, but I thought Bruce was good. I like the whole sort of joke that he's after Bruce Wayne as well. It's cool.
I did think they were going to kill Bruce off just so that they could bring in Bud and Lou, which the 2 hyenas she had from which started, I believe, in the animated show and then they moved into the comic books.
Yeah.
I did think they were going to do that and then have her and getting 2 new hyenas. But yeah, it was still good.
He's way too cute. He's way too cute to die in the first movie. He just has to get a buddy next time. That's all.
And they call it Dick.
Exactly.
After the orphan that lives with Bruce.
Yeah, that's exactly what it could be. Yeah. I love that intro as well, where she goes and picks out Bruce the first time, and you see the guy coming on to her and saying, you know, well, I don't have to accept money. I get payment in kind. And then the next time you see Bruce, he's eating the guy's leg.
Yeah.
That was like a great moment for Harley Quinn, just to show nobody can get one over at her. That's really good fun.
Can we just also speak about the beaver?
Oh, yes.
It's just like, it's again, just the little things, these little touches. That is just like, it's funny to have a beaver. It's even funnier to have a beaver with goggly eyes with his paws out like it's about to grab you.
And it's funnier again to have a beaver stuffed with his paw out, with the goggly eyes, in a little pink ballet dress.
And even funnier that she talks to him like he's alive as well. That's really good fun. We've already talked a little bit already about Helena Bertinelli, who is Huntress, who is also the crossbow killer. I like how they weaved her story in throughout the movie, even if you didn't know it was her from the beginning. I liked how she is very central to what's going on, but nobody has pieced it together. You know, it feels like you're almost on the detective trail with Renee Montoya from the beginning. You know, who's this character? Why is she involved? Oh, it's that flashback to 15 years ago when her family were killed, and that's how she moved on. You only get that towards the end of the movie. But yeah, I already mentioned the touch of her going, do you know who I am? And then killing them before they even have a chance to recognize who she is. And she's got her whole speech and her origin story prepared, and nobody gets to hear it except for the rest of the Birds of Prey at the end of the film, which I thought was a great touch for the character.
I loved Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Like, she's now one of my new crushes, because I was just like, she was so good. So the comedic timing was perfect. The seriousness was perfect. It was fantastic. I loved her in 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Mm-hmm. She's one of your new crushes after Scott Pilgrim. You don't still hold a candle for her right back from her time as Ramona.
I do, honestly, I do. But like, also, she's one of these actresses that kind of comes in and out of kind of pop culture zeitgeist. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so for me it was big fan of Ramona, and then nothing, because she kind of disappeared. She didn't disappear, she just didn't take the kind of more box office films.
I think it's a sign for an actress like her. I think it's a sign when you think about 4 movies that she's done, all have been fantastic. You've mentioned them all there. I feel like she just waits for a part, and there's not many of these kind of parts that she really enjoys doing. So when she comes out and has her name up in lights above a great movie, she'll absolutely stand over it. And I think you can really, all 4 of those movies you mentioned, Chris, are all really, really good Hollywood films. So
and she was in Gemini Man. Mm-hmm. Not a great Hollywood film, but she was great in it.
There you go.
There you go. But in this film, she was brilliant. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm not going to blow smoke up her crossbow, but it was a great character, well written. They did the flashback well. Mm-hmm. It was a bit of a predictable reveal to a degree. I kind of assumed it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it wasn't.
But like, it was meant to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, that being said, I asked my wife after seeing the film, because again, for any of our listeners, she's not a comic book fan. I'm the nerd that drags her along to this stuff.
He keeps saying this, but 400 episodes on, and she's seen every single thing that we've covered. So I don't know, man.
She's starting to become that.
And she did marry you during that time as well, so you're not pushing her away either. So not bad.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of nerd in Kelly, to be honest.
But she didn't know that about Huntress and kind of the backstory. Mm. So it was interesting. She didn't fully see it coming.
Yeah.
So again, a slight burden of knowledge for all of our fans who may know the Huntress character and kind of the backstory, but at the same time, it was good. I was happy with it. And yeah, it was just, and the fight scenes. Oh, but we'll get to that later.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is as well, like, her story is the one that's driving as well, Black Mask here.
Exactly,
So, and also just driving, his sort of need to expand his empire in Gotham as well, and take out his rivals. So, again, as you say, how it's interwoven into the movie is just really nicely done.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really good. I think as well with Black Canary, the 4th member of the Birds of Prey that come together in Booby Trap, Dinah Lance, who's the 4th member of the Birds of Prey. I have a really soft spot for Black Canary. It comes from Green Arrow. I know it wasn't played by the same actress, but Laurel will be with me always. I do like the fact that we see her sort of, give those lungs a good workout. As they're surrounded by Sionis' henchmen, as they've run out of bullets. She really decides to open up those vocal cords, which is really good. And as you say, in the club, really, really nice voice. So I like that whole thing of her being a singer, and then, having to rein it down in terms of the pitch that she gets at. But I do like where she kind of just strays over and it cracks the cocktail glass of Sionis.
Yeah, absolutely. Another character that's really well woven into the story as well, I thought. I like that she's the one that goes to save Harley Quinn, who's way too drunk, and some guys are trying to bundle her in the back of a van. She's the one that kicks ass and takes them all out.
Yeah.
And it's because of that Sionis goes, actually, you'd be a really good driver for me. You can protect me when Zaz isn't around, basically. I kind of like that little touch that it's also Harley Quinn's fault. She also lives in the same apartment as Cassandra Cain, has got a relationship with her. So it's not like, and I'm not going to criticize Suicide Squad. We've already talked about it on another podcast, but it's done so well here to bring all of these characters together and make a reason why they would all be in the same room together. There are connections between each of them. Unlike Suicide Squad, where it was like, we'll just stick all these villains together and they'll go out and do a mission for the government, which did feel a little bit like, I don't really know why that guy's over there, and why, considering all of these people are villains, somebody just doesn't kill the guy that's annoying them, because that's what most likely they would do. Whereas in this, it really does feel like everybody has a reason to be there, and they all kind of know each other, and they all kind of trust each other a little bit. If they're in a spot, they're all going to work together, and it makes a lot of sense by the end of the film, particularly with Diana Lance and with Helena Bertinelli, because they have those kind of relationships and connections throughout the movie, really.
Well, they do try and kill each other in the third act, but it's just how friends greet each other. I regularly throw John out of a window.
Mm-hmm. He's been practicing for his fall out the window.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I can do a triple salco now and land on my feet. I am like a kitty cat.
Excellent. I do also like that kind of moment where Harley Quinn sees Diana Lance and goes, "You're that singer that no one listens to." And Diana's response of, "Oh, you're the a-hole everybody hates," right? Just like that kind of interplay between the two.
Because then you get them on Toya Chase afterwards, where all these kind of grievances are being played out. It is, again, just coming back to what you just said around Suicide Squad. It's about the difference of the structure and the writing of the piece, both how it's structured on the screenplay, but also then how the director has taken that and woven it through. And it is just really, really good.
It's character and story over spectacle at a lot of times, because I do think there's a little touch there as well from Harley when she's told from Diana, "You're the a-hole that everybody hates." There is that moment that you can see in Harley Quinn's face where she's going, "Does everybody hate me? Why would everybody hate me?" And then she goes through all the people that want to kill her and goes, "Oh, that's probably why."
And that guy, I don't even remember why they might.
And that guy that I tattooed the Joker's mask on his face for no reason other than for a bit of fun. Oh, maybe I can understand why he didn't like me. Yeah.
Question to the audience, or to you, I should say: are any of these characters going to be in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, which is the upcoming reboot, remake, we don't know what, the upcoming DC film by James Gunn on the Suicide Squad? I'm just like, is Harley Quinn going to be in it? Is potentially Huntress, or like, are there any of them? Has that been confirmed or discussed at all? Is there rumors?
Not that I'm aware of. There's a rumor that there is a 3-part Harley Quinn trilogy. This being the first part. There is another one which will be the Birds of Prey on their own, and there's another one where she's setting up her own villainous gang. So that'll be the second film, and the final film will be the two going up against each other. That's the rumor of the 3 kind of trilogy structure, if they were to do a trilogy. But I think they've been very focused because of how long it's taken to get this movie made and get the budget together and get the production together. They've been very clear about kind of going, we're doing this movie, let's see how much everybody likes it kind of thing. They're again, it's not like the MCU where they go, we're doing 10 films in a row for the next 5 years. Where they're very much kind of going, we know we've been burnt before by throwing out, we've got these 20 movies in the pipeline. So they're releasing them and seeing how people like them. And I hope people do like
you mean
this.
I'm not going to see the Cyborg?
You never know. That's kind of the thing with DC. You never know what's
Green Lantern next. Could pop up.
Yeah.
Shock horror.
Green Lantern's coming to TV very soon. So, we'll see. They have that.
Is that a case of be prepared for disappointment?
Who knows? I'm hoping not.
Yeah, I'm hoping not as well.
A preservative. But they were the protagonists, but let's move on and speak spectacularly about maybe these antagonists that we have as well. I know you guys were more of a fan of the Gotham Zaz, but we do get a very victorious Zaz in my eyes. Okay. In my head, it was a different take. You have a very different take on Zaz.
Oh, it's a different take, definitely. I just probably preferred Anthony Carrigan's version of him. My big question for these two characters, for Black Mask and Victor Zsasz, the two antagonists of this movie, they're in a relationship, right? They're together.
No.
Like, there are moments when you have Victor coming up to Sionis, rubbing his face and going, "Don't worry, I'll take care of it." And all you're missing is, "I'll take care of it, honey," at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
There really are these moments where I was wondering, are the two of them in a relationship? Because it doesn't feel like Sionis wants anything to do with any of the women that are in the club at all. He feels quite arrogant and distant from all of them. Even Diana Lance, he kind of wants her around to just sing songs for him. But with Victor keeps goading him over and over again into making awful decisions as well. Just wondering, are they in some kind of relationship? What do you think, John?
I got that as well. There were kind of moments where you almost feel as though Victor is breathing in Black Mask and Roman Sionis in this. As you say, the touches, the closeness of how he talks to him. It did feel like there was something there. Not to say that there was, but there was definitely a hint that they were or had been in some kind of relationship to me, for sure. Whether they were in the mind of the screenwriter, who knows? But the way it was played was quite sensual, I think, between the two. I never thought I'd say that about Black Mask and Victor Zsasz before now, but yeah, it was very sensual.
I personally didn't get let me say it. I personally didn't get the relationship. I got that Zsasz was in love with Sionis. I took more that Sionis was more bisexual and liked both Victor and, in this case, the canary. Right. His little songbird. Yeah. Or what I took from it was Zsasz was, Zsasz says he loves him. Yeah. In the end. But I also got that, kind of Ewan McGregor's take on the Black Mask, is that he didn't get his hands dirty himself until the end. He got some kind of release from watching Victor do his thing. Exactly. So it was very symbiotic. And that's when you got that kind of face stroking moment. And I love, let me kill her, let me take her face. But then he was like, no, don't touch my little songbird.
I think maybe symbiotic's a really good description, actually, of their relationship. Yes. Rather than maybe that they were in a relationship, because it's like they fed off one another. Yet I also kind of like the fact that when Victor effectively messed up, he was hiding that from Sionis as well.
Yeah, no, it was just, I don't think it was the traditional quote unquote relationship, like a boyfriend. I think it was like that kind. It was a weird relationship.
I think it was a nice, different take, though, on the bad guys and the bad guy and his henchmen. I think it was a different take and a really interesting choice compared to, probably 90% of other comic-related movies. Yeah. It felt complicated. It felt, as you say, symbiotic. It felt sensual. It was a different take. There was almost an uneasiness about the bad guys because you couldn't quite place them. Yeah. In a sense.
Well, there's also that thing of, Victor Zsasz is a villain in his own right and has gone through and done plots and plans himself. So why would he be subservient to Black Mask? That is kind of the question that you have to answer for comic book fans. Why would you have these two people working together, one being the henchman and one being his boss? Why does that matter, and why is it that way? I do like that effectively Victor keeps pushing Black Mask to give him more victims. Effectively, that seems to be his plan, is kind of keep pushing him over the edge because I have a spot right here and I want to kill her. Maybe if I push him in that direction, he'll make sure that I go out and get the opportunity to kill Dinah Lance. Maybe there's a little bit of that as well. So I kind of like how they built up their relationship. One of the things that you just kind of hit on there for me as well, John, this is a very different villain throughout this movie. That the portrayal of Ewan McGregor, I've seen loads of reviews who are there going, oh, he doesn't quite chew the scenery enough for me. As if that's exactly the way you have to play this villain, is that he has to chew the scenery. He has to be somebody that's in there having a laugh riot all the time, and he's the one that you can't take your eyes off because he's the villain of the movie. You don't necessarily have to do that because you saw it in the other 40 movies that you've watched that have villains like this in it. I think they're going for a very different version of the character. I think they're going for someone who is genuinely scary to people around him. The person that's most scary is, come into my house for a party. Oh, you did something that I consider wrong. Now I'm going to kill you. He's genuinely that scary. Yeah. That moment with Erica beside the bar where he tells her to stand up on the table and dance for him and then take off her dress, embarrassing her in front of everybody else. They do a great job where they catch all of the women in the club and the reaction on their faces to what Erica is going through and being put through by this person who has complete control of the room because he owns it. And they know if they don't do what he says, they're dead and their faces could be slit off, you know? I like that take on the character. He's not supposed to be a Jack Nicholson Joker, haha, am I hilarious. He's not supposed to be like that. He does feel like he's supposed to be dangerous.
Yeah.
And I think they did a good job of building him up that way.
And that's it. He is socially dangerous because he's powerful. And like with Erica, she was laughing at something completely unrelated, but he thought it was a mocking laugh at him and the fact that, you know, at this moment in time, he was failing to get the diamond. And of course, absolutely nothing to do with it, but it's that danger. Dare I say it, a slightly kind of weird tack, but it's like the Aaron Hernandez documentary on Netflix where you suddenly realize that, you know, two guys going about their business spilt a drink on him. One of them purely by accident. And he took that personally and ultimately drove by and shot them, allegedly. And so it's that scariness of something that you do, like, that is absolutely just during the normal course of a conversation or an accident or something like that, and someone goes crazy on it. Yep. So I really kind of enjoyed that. It felt like a simmering anger. And I thought that was really good from Ewan McGregor.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Overall, it just felt different from most of the other villains that we've seen. Remember, DC have a movie which is based around only villains, right? So they've done a lot of villains in their movies. I thought he just felt very different. Not the best thing in the movie by any means, but a worthy adversary for the rest of the cast that are in here.
And that's one of the things I completely agree with you. And that's one of the things that shocks me is that at the end of this film, Black Mask is dead.
Yeah.
There's no coming back for him.
Yeah.
Unless you can piece him back together somehow.
He is sushi.
Yeah.
He is chunky fish bait.
I really liked that whole scene on the pier with the statues. I thought that was so nicely done. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was, what a way to kill him. I was not expecting that. I wasn't expecting him to die.
Yes.
One thing I will say is I do not think Zaz is dead. Zaz as a character is not. He got shot, crossbowed in the neck, but we never see him officially fully bite the bullet.
Oh, okay.
So I do think that they kind of kept him so that he can go a bit more crazy, and either he can be don the Black Mask, which would be interesting, or he goes full Zaz, skinhead, multiple cuts, and is a bit more crazy because Harley Quinn, you killed the love of my life.
Right. Maybe. The
person who allowed me to kill. Yeah. Now I'm untethered.
I think that would partially kind of ruin Huntress's story, though. Like, I absolutely love that moment when the bolt comes out of nowhere and kills Zaz, and then a couple of minutes later, while everybody's fighting about whether they should join up, you've got Huntress kind of going, I've accomplished my mission now. Can I just leave and not have this conversation with you guys? I've killed everybody that was involved. Zaz was one of the people that killed her family, and he's the last person on her list. So she's finally accomplished her list, and now she's going to walk away. I really did like that as her story. It's something that you don't realize until it's all put together, that that's who she's been going after, all of these people that killed her family, effectively.
Yeah, and I liked as well, just coming back to Zaz, I did like the fact that they showed the scars and that it was nice and extensive. And I liked all the masks in Roman Sionis' sort of home, and certainly with the shrunken heads, as he's kind of saying how delicious it is. That they've gotten these shrunken heads and how they're created. So it was kind of nice. It was kind of a nice creepy touch, to be honest.
Well, it was again like 800 years old. Yeah, it's just hanging on my wall.
Yeah, exactly.
Pickled. Have you ever been to the Deep Congo? Oh no worries. I have. To kind of round out, I'm a huge fan of both of them as antagonists. I just think Sionis is gone. I see what you mean about, if Zaz is alive, it invalidates the Huntress's piece. But also, that's a perfect excuse for them to come back to Gotham and have to grab Harley again or something.
Yeah. As we know, nobody ever is really dead in comic books.
Exactly. Well, no. Black Mask he's 100%.
Absolutely. We would be remiss if we didn't go on to our next point, because the fight sequences in this movie is basically our next point, right? And I think it was really important to get this right. The choreographer for this movie was John Valera, and the stunt coordinator was Jonathan Eusebio. They worked together on the John Wick movies. I think Jonathan Eusebio was on John Wick 1 and 2, and then John Valera joined them on 3. Both of them worked together on Deadpool 2, Creed 2, some of the Marvel movies, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, Thor Ragnarok. They've done so many fight sequences over time, and you can tell in this movie, they're going for a different level of fight sequence, planning all of this stuff together. There's many big moments in the movie. You've already mentioned one earlier on, John, the police precinct battle with the exploding glitter bombs, which was absolutely great. Really enjoyed that. That's that kind of sequence as she's making her way through level by level, as if it's a video game. Probably is inside Harley Quinn's mind, all the way through this place. Not killing anybody, but taking everybody out with these glitter bombs.
Well, and dare I say it as well, speaking of broken legs, we do have the crowbar to the shins as well in the police lockup right at the end of that whole sequence that goes from, the GCPD precinct into the cells, where you have that great fight with the water. As the look on Harley Quinn's face as she's trying to figure out how to open the cells. And then when she's in there, they all just open, and everyone has grievances against Harley Quinn. But then in the lockup, again, another wince moment. Stuff to the legs is not in my kind of thing, really.
No.
I did let out a pretty big scream in the cinema at one point, and I think it was around her jumping on the shins of the driver in the club.
That was only like 3 minutes into the film.
Yeah, it was. And I was like, ooh, that was loud. Yeah.
Speaking of the GCPD lockup, that evidence locker, I know every single fan is going, as soon as this comes out on Blu-ray, or potentially before, is going to be freeze framing, looking for Mr. Freeze's blaster in the background, or her original mallet, or just little Easter eggs. I couldn't see any. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that they'll be there.
It was one of those ones that and I think I said this in kind of my notes. I've written it as, I'm genuinely surprised how few there were, because you've got a massive room full of stuff. I could not pick out any. I was combing through this scene the second time I saw it as well, trying to pick out things that were that could have been connected to previous movies, that kind of stuff, and I couldn't see them. I'm sure there's much bigger fans out there of DC stuff, and I just wonder whether it's that thing, as we were talking about earlier on, Chris, that they're not specifically planning for a sequel right now, because they want to make sure that they get this movie 100% right. There are definitely things within this. I know already I've heard people who are fans of Harley Quinn comic books and Harley Quinn, the cartoon and that kind of stuff, who've already talked about things that they've seen in the movie that I wouldn't have seen because I haven't read much for comics or seen much of the cartoons. But weirdly, the police lockup, I think it's probably another thing that hangs over from the time we watch the MCU movies, where every corner of every screen has something in there that's a massive Easter egg, and I just don't see them in this movie.
The only one I thought, and maybe it's a little generic, was the bowling ball, because I remember seeing Harley Quinn she's got her mallet, the two hyenas, but I also remember her using a bowling ball. I don't know enough of the comics to be able to say that, but there's something in my mind where she's used a bowling ball.
Right.
I suppose everyone's weapon of choice at the end of the day. But I thought that was the only thing. But that's so generic. It's nothing particularly standoutish like the mallet, And
I know she has her other weapon of choice in this movie. Another piece of sporting equipment. We get her baseball bat in here, unpainted. This time it's a regular baseball bat, but she uses it to great effect in that fight, just after she gets all coked up to the eyeballs.
Oh yeah, wasn't
that brilliant?
Yeah.
Wasn't that just a really clever use.
So good.
It's just like, she's going to hide behind something. Well, let's make it a mounted coat. That explains why
That
she's
was really
able
good.
to take on these big burly men.
Hilarious.
And just that final bit is two points on this. Let's see before we move on to the other big fight scenes. Was that the bounce of the baseball bat when she throws it at the ground, it knocks in the guy's face and flies back to her, and she grabs it. CGI to hell, I know, but it was just so well done.
That was cool as anything.
It was, and then when Montoya grabs her at the end, she's handing her phone, and rather than just normally knocking out the kind of cop, she backflip kicks the phone, and Montoya's head knocks her out.
Yeah.
Again, just showing that gymnastic kind of more Harley Quinn fight style. Which is just really well done.
Absolutely. And I think they just had so many ideas that they could put in here. That the fight with Donna Lance and the kidnappers, I thought was really competent looking. It looked like she had some proper fight training in there. Really good to watch on screen. And then we come to, I think, probably my favorite scene in the film, not just fight scene in the film. I'm calling it a Batman 66 inspired fight. The final battle at the booby trap. It really felt like something out of Adam West's Batman, and that works so well with this character of Harley Quinn. The fight with the hands, where they're all slapping the bad guys with the hands. They're all getting together in a circle and trying to protect Cassandra from being taken, and each of them are taking on 5 or 10 of Sionis' guys in their own individually choreographed battle. I just thought it was so well put together.
Each in their own choreographed battle that we also get to see in the background while we're focused on the others. So I thought it was fantastic that we, like, the camera panned. I don't know how many shots that must have taken, but we focused in on Harley Quinn, and she was doing her. That was, another Easter egg from the comic books, Harley Quinn roller derby.
Yes.
That comes from the comic books. That's a big part. And seeing her fight in this last part of the film in roller skates is just spectacular.
How did she have time for a shoe change?
Exactly, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
It's kind of like, who cares? Just enjoy the fight.
Because if they hadn't called it out, someone else would have at one point.
It was,
and they just we're going to call it out. We're just like, everyone else going, when did she change her shoes?
It's just so good. And that's why you know that they know this character so well and what they're doing, because it's just calling out that little thing that, the continuity. It's so good. It's so self-aware. I absolutely loved it. I loved, the other thing I loved as well was where, after Sionis's sort of guys and henchmen come through the window and they're shooting them, they escape down the slide, the amusement slide. And I love that Huntress effectively kills one of them and then uses him as that slide board to go down. I thought that was pretty cool as well.
Very cool. I also love the floor made out of trampolines as well, so that everybody's getting into their battle in the air as well. Hilarious. One
call out is the hairband land moment. Just brilliant, where literally Harley gives Canary, he's like, do you need a hairband? Yeah, because here you go. Never go into battle without one. I literally have seen many ladies call this a moment out as being, oh my God, yeah, that's so true. It's a brilliant moment. And I'm just like, I just thought it was bloody brilliant, because again, if you're kicking that much ass, you don't want your dreadlocks kind of getting in the way. Because that's you make the joke about why people, it's in The Incredibles, you don't wear capes because it gets caught in thing and people can grab it. It's the same thing.
And it was much more seriously put in Watchmen, right? So
yes, exactly.
It did lead to the death of a character in there. But overall the fight sequences, I think, was our fourth point. Anything else jumping out about the fight sequences or bouncing around about the fight sequences?
They're just really nicely done, and you just immerse yourself in them because it's fun, it's up tempo, and really good.
For me, it was just very quickly the end scene where we have Harley on her roller skates going after Black Mask in his car, and we get that whipping moment. We get her being accelerated by Canary, and it was just you can see the John Wick in it because that's literally parts of John Wick 3 where you have the motorbike chase scene. But it was, again, played to really good effect because she was whipping to the side, jumping on top of it. I just thought that was a really nice, it was really well done fight part.
Absolutely. I was so surprised. I don't know why, because she was on roller skates, but I was so surprised when we saw Black Canary's. Her scream is amazing. Like, it's so much more powerful than what we've seen in the TV show version of the character, where she's sending people up in the air and they're almost stopping in midair because of the power. But I must admit, I was really surprised seeing Harley fly out of there on her roller skates. I shouldn't have been surprised. She was on roller skates. Of course, she was going to use it as her projectile out there to take down Sionis, but it just made me laugh. I thought it was really, really good use of the character's power. If you're only going to use it once in the film, and you see her dropping to the ground because of the power that she's used, if you're going to use it once in the film, what a great way to use it.
Yeah, but it also does introduce the metahumans into this part of it as well. We know they had been in because of Diablo and Suicide Squad, but they have introduced, because you don't have too many superpowered people in the, well, you have none, but it introduced that the powers are there.
Yeah, exactly. Very, very cool. Let's wrap up our discussion about Birds of Prey, just with the final moments really of the movie. The Birds of Prey are formed. What did you think about how this all wrapped up as a film, with them all getting together? And we have Rena Montoya not actually going back to the police service. She was never going to anyway. She's done with that stuff. We got Black Canary and we got Huntress, who has now finished her mission, but everybody thinks she's cool here. And they're all starting to call her Huntress, so maybe she has a place to stay with these other characters. Black Canary's lost her job as driver and singer in Sionis' club, so she's at a loose end. So why not have these three get together and kick some more ass in Gotham City?
Well, they have the Bertinelli fortune. And I loved it. I liked it. It was a nice ending. Are they strong enough as a team to own their own film? Personally, I don't know. I think having the offset that is Harley Quinn in that craziness element is needed. I personally just think that's my own thing. I like that Harley calls them the do-gooder dorks.
Yeah, me too.
Because it is, they are like, we're going to clean up this town from the inside out. So they are doing that. And I think the Birds of Prey 2, if we're going to call it that, would need to still have Harley Quinn in it as the anti-hero.
Oh, maybe.
That being said, I love the characters because they're fleshed out to a degree and fantastically acted. It's just the strength of this. It would depend on the script. That's
absolutely.
Probably the best thing to say.
Yeah. Always does, Chris. Always does.
Yeah, exactly.
Was anybody surprised by Harley Quinn hopping in the car with Cassandra and driving off on their own new adventure with lots and lots of cash?
No, that's exactly what I was expecting from the sequel. Yeah. I literally was going, okay, I actually thought all of them would go off together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, me too.
And like, it would be the like, you'd have some funny Thelma and Louise. Actually, I did think they were going to finish on Grease, like a bit of a musical where they kind of drove into the air.
Right.
Because they had the Cadillac and stuff. Right. I just assumed that was where we were going to get. No, but I did expect it was going to be her kind of, but they are the do-gooder dorks. And then you see her kind of come into the fight as well going, what? No one ever said I was a bad person. Right. Something along that, like where she is with them and they've discovered that through the power of friendship, they can take on everyone.
I'm really happy it didn't go that way. I'm really happy that we have Harley Quinn pretty much back to a better version of herself from the beginning of the film. I like that she says that to Cassandra, that the reason she keeps her around is because you make me want to be a better person. A slightly better person.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a slightly better person, isn't it? It is the way she delivers the line. So it is her basically saying, I'm not going to give up being evil and robbing banks and taking stuff, but I don't want to kill you. I suppose that makes me slightly better, right?
And as she munches into her perfect egg sandwich as well.
Exactly.
Armenian hair, you gotta love it.
Yes.
And 6-month-old cheese, of course. Guys, do you want to get into any Easter eggs that we may not have mentioned in this?
Yeah, I've got one very quick one, which was that in the scene where Renee Montoya and she's getting drunk, in the background on her TV, there is a video of Arlene Sorkin. who was the original voice for Harley Quinn in the Batman animated show. She basically was Harley Quinn all the way up to, oh God, when? I think it was kind of the Batman, the Arkham City games.
Oh, right.
So Arlene Sorkin was all the way up through the original Batman games, the Batman Beyond. She is the iconic voice.
Yes.
She was replaced by Tara Strong later on. But she did. So basically there's this sketch where she was Harley Quinn dressed up as a kind of a different version of it.
Right.
So they had that playing in the background. And I thought it was that. I literally started Googling around on it, and there's an interview. I don't know what was it for? It was an interview where they've interviewed, Margot Robbie, and she didn't know about this.
Right.
She never spotted this. She didn't know that's what it was. And it wasn't until they're just as some of their final editing and that she saw that it was there and asked about it, and they said it, and she was like, "This is brilliant."
What a great idea. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Give a bit of respect back to the character. Because I suppose maybe some people don't know that the character of Harley Quinn was created for the Batman animated series. She wasn't a character in the comic book. She was a character created for the TV show, for the cartoon, and then moved into comic books later, a couple of years after she was created on the show. So you see her created by Bruce Timm, who was the person that did Batman the animated series. So the original character came part and parcel with that voice and with that action movements, I suppose. So nice to give some credit there. The movie does also give some credit to the new animated series. I don't know whether I'm going to be stuck around for the final post-credit line. Not a scene. It is one line, and it's cut off on purpose because effectively it's Harley Quinn saying, "Well, I have to give you something since you sat around so long. Don't tell anybody, but Batman bats." Which is a reference to her constant accusation in the new cartoon. That's why he's called Batman. Hilarious little moment, but I'm not sure whether people should have hung around for 3 or 4 minutes for that final line. It's not very long. The credits aren't actually very long in this movie. They do go by quite quickly, but just a fun little line at the end.
I stuck around. I enjoyed it. It's so funny that we've been trained into staying for post credits just on the off chance that we get it. It's just never before, it's just so weird to think of. Everyone used to always get up, and now literally the theater was full. Yeah. Everyone was like, "Oh, they're going to have something." Oh,
but the reason is, my parents were kids when we were kids watching movies. Some movies that we would have watched had all those credits at the beginning of the movie before you got to see anything. It was like 2 minutes of credits of all the people that were involved in the filming, and then the movie started. And then they started moving to the back end of the film. So credits at the beginning were only who's starring and who's directing. And then you started this thing of a pre-credit sequence and then a credit thing, which was James Bond stuff. And then you'd have these massive credits of all the stunts people and all the CGI people. And because you have these massive movies like the Marvel movies and like these movies in DC where you have massive teams working on CGI, credits can go on 4 or 5 minutes. So the idea that they came up with was to kind of go, well, all these people deserve a little bit of respect for the work that they did. So maybe we'll put in a little post-credit scene for them to watch while they're going through all these people that they don't know, but their family's going to really enjoy seeing their name up on the screen,
Yeah. No, I do find it really interesting that when you started watching films, did they switch to color?
I know I'm old. I know I'm turning back to black and white in my hair anyway. But hey. John, any other ones that you noticed?
Yeah, just the wanted poster that was there for Captain Boomerang, who of course was in Suicide Squad and played by Jai Courtney. Mm-hmm. So just a little reference there.
Hey, I know that guy. Yeah. Nice little touch. Brilliant. Can we go and get Will Smith's face, or can we go and get somebody else's face?
Exactly.
No, let's get Jai Courtney.
Yeah, it was weird because he is returning. He's confirmed to be returning for the James Gunn Suicide Squad. So I was like, oh, okay.
There you go. You wanted your connective tissue to the next movie coming up. There you go, Chris. That was it.
Yeah,
that
was it.
Overall, guys, I know we've talked quite a long time about this movie. Overall, what are your final thoughts on Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn? I don't have to say that anymore. I could just say Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey, couldn't I?
You can.
Yeah, you could.
John, do you want to go first on this?
Yeah, loved this movie. I give it 4 stray Armenian arm hairs in the perfect egg sandwich out of 5. All washed down with liters and liters of prune juice just to get it passed through the system afterwards. There's a neat trick. Or a burrito, maybe. I really enjoyed this. Just really good fun, really snappy, nicely written, brilliantly acted, and directed. I mean, it's one of those movies that you could just sit back and relax. It was fun. And I really want to see it again.
Yeah.
And I think I'm not a big Harley Quinn fan. I love the character, yes, because she's part of the Batman universe, but at the same time, it's not someone who I've ever really gone out my way to sort of read about or whatever. And I do think that Margot Robbie really embodies her so well. The sense of humor was dark, it was violent, which is exactly what you want from a psychopathic former psychiatric nurse who's been in the presence of the Clown Prince of Gotham for however long. And I love the fact that that is the rug that has been pulled from underneath her to allow this attack on her from all sorts of people, from the guy with the Joker face tattooed onto his own face, through to Roman Sionis. And I really enjoyed that, through to Bruce the Hyena, through to the stuffed beaver, all the way to effectively toilet humor about trying to pass a diamond through this kid's digestive system with every trick available to it.
Get the colander.
Absolutely, I forgot about that. Yeah, get the colander. So it's just good fun. As I say, I squirmed in it with the breaking of legs and knees and what have you. I thought that whole kind of the founder's pier with all the people on and them trying to find Sionis at the end was really nicely done. And the booby trap fight was fantabulous, for this movie. So I definitely recommend it. And yeah, definitely really enjoyed it.
Excellent. Chris, any final thoughts?
No, I don't want to blow any more smoke up the crossbow. This is fun. It should be seen by everyone. It's a fun, short, hour 45. It's succinct. It's well written. It's well directed. Is it perfect? No. Is any film perfect? No. It's just good. It's a good, fantabulous ramp.
Fantabulous ramp. Awesome.
Ramp.
Well, since she's wearing roller skates, she can fly then. Awesome.
Exactly. No, it's just good. I want to see where they go this. I love Margot Robbie in this role. This character, she has very much made her own. She now is, when you think of, as I said, when you think of the Joker, you think of Heath Ledger, or you now think of Joaquin Phoenix. They're all these very iconic versions. When you think personally, in my case, I think of Mark Hamill, as I said earlier.
Not Jared Leto for some reason. What's going on here?
I liked him.
Me too.
It was a take. Did everyone like it? No. I liked it personally.
Well, we all like Jared Leto.
Yeah, 30 Seconds to Mars, baby.
My So-Called Life.
Requiem for a Dream. He has never pulled off drug-addicted chic better.
No, true. Or one-armedness. Spoiler alert, I suppose, for Requiem for a Dream. I think there's a 15-year, it's fine. 15-year, I get away with it. No, anyway, back to it. Yes, I completely love this film. I will be watching it again. It's up there. It's definitely in my top 3 DC EU films at the moment.
Excellent.
Derek, what did you think? Tell us your thoughts. Continue on. Be succinct, because we are already out of time.
Absolutely. No, I think I've said all of my thoughts here. Really enjoyed this. As I started coming out of the cinema watching this, I don't think this can be necessarily judged against any of the comic book movies that we've talked about before. It's not a comedy movie like Deadpool, which is the one that's most often compared to, is, oh, it's an R-rated comedy just like Deadpool. It's not like Deadpool because it actually has a lot more going for it than Deadpool. I find I've talked a lot about comedy movies not hitting with me, and that's mostly because they aim much more on the side of comedy than on the side of telling a good story with good characters. I think this nails a really good balance in there. This is probably one of my favorite films that I've seen in a while. It felt like something brand new. It felt like something different. It felt like the bad guys were very different than things that we've seen in every comic book movie where they get short shrift. All of the characters had really good storylines going on here, despite the fact that it felt like you were in a Harley Quinn movie. Everybody had something to contribute to the movie. So I'd love to see more of these characters. I hope we are going to see more, and I hope a lot more people have gone to see this movie since we saw it, and I hope more people keep going for the next couple of weeks that it's in the cinema. And if you don't discover it until it comes out on Blu-ray or DVD, hopefully you've enjoyed it as much as we did in the cinema.
Yes. But gentlemen, on that note, we did ask for some feedback from our listeners over on facebook.com/group/TV podcast industries, where you can leave feedback on any of the shows we cover. We always put up a spoiler post and ask you just throw it in. To kick it off, Matthew DeBarger said, I liked it. I wish they'd gone more with the consistent goofy tone, having two of the best young actresses in Hollywood doing long, wide action sequences is great. John Wick light, but more funny. True, I don't know if Keanu Reeves can pull off the funny and action at the same time, but we'll have to see when Matrix 4 comes out.
Yeah.
Yes, that could be hilarious.
I don't know whether that's going to be that funny, unfortunately.
Oh, is that not Bill and Ted, the sequel to Bill and Ted,
No.
The Matrix 4? Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, good point, Matthew. I must say, having these two fantastic, huge actresses now doing fight sequences is really good fun. And, of course, you're going to get the guys on board from John Wick to do that as well. Salim McKisler also says, I saw it on Wednesday. There was more good than bad, but overall it was very uneven. Black Canary and Huntress were great, but underutilized. Make no mistake, this is definitely a Harley Quinn movie, not a Birds of Prey movie. The main antagonist was very weak, and I hate what they did with Victor Zsasz. As I said before, where have you gone, Anthony Carrigan? Very similar point about Victor Zsasz for me, Salim. I don't think the character was as good as we've seen in the past, and I think, in fact, actually, Anthony Carrigan's version of Victor Zsasz could have worked very well in this movie.
Yeah, definitely.
Considering he's kind of someone who does like anybody that's around him that he can fall in love with, really. I think there's moments where he's fallen in love with Detective Harvey Bullock in Gotham. So I'm sure he could absolutely have played that up for the movie as well. Thanks so much, Salim.
Yeah, thanks, Salim. And thanks, Matthew. Claire Payne also on Facebook goes, just came out of the cinema. I loved it. There's a reaction, and we know that she loved it so much that she's going to see it again. Mm-hmm. So, I think it is definitely a 2-viewer. I think you definitely watch it because it is just really good fun. Yeah. And Rebecca Hart also on Facebook said, I loved it. She goes, I hate Harley, love Robbie, so I had concerns going in. I won't say any more because of spoilers, but just wanted to pipe up to give it some love. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think, thank you so much, Rebecca and Claire. I think this movie deserves a lot of love indeed. And we would definitely recommend that you go out and check out this phantasmagorical movie.
Maybe that's the sequel. Birds of Prey and the Phantasmagorical movie. That's it. That is our discussion for this episode and the first episode of Movies on TV Podcast Industries for the year. We'll be back in the cinema in May for Black Widow, starring Scarlett Johansson, directed by Kate Shortland. Really looking forward to seeing a bit more Black Widow, to be honest. Another Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. back up on screen again, so looking forward to that. We are also continuing our coverage of Star Trek Picard. We'll be talking about episode 4 later on this week of Star Trek Picard. You can get all of our podcasts over on tvpodcastindustries.com. Subscribe to the Star Trek Picard podcast. The show's been really good. We've got 3 episodes so far. We've all really enjoyed, so really looking forward to that.
Yeah, definitely. Been loving Picard, and of course, cannot wait for Black Widow. We'll also soon be going into the world of Penny Dreadful, where we will be looking retrospectively at the first 3 seasons of the show as we lead up to our coverage of Penny Dreadful City of Angels, which takes a slightly different tack from that gothic Victorian classic of the first 3 seasons and brings us right up to 1930s Art Deco, West Coast of America. That's coming out on April 24th. And so we will lead our retrospective of Penny Dreadful seasons 1 to 3 into that release date for the City of Angels.
Absolutely. Really looking forward to that as well. If you want to support us and get early access to our discussions about Penny Dreadful, pop on over to patreon.com/TV Podcast Industries. We'll be putting the episodes up there first for Penny Dreadful and then releasing them on our main feed as we get closer to the release date of Penny Dreadful City of Angels.
Yes. Help us by keep the lights on with just that single dollar, single euro, single pound. Or, you know what? You can also just share the love by sharing the podcast.
Yes, exactly. You can support us in all ways that share the love, indeed.
Exactly. Lots of love, everybody. Enjoy Valentine's Day, whatever you're doing for it. Maybe you're going to go and see Harley Quinn and Birds of Prey again on Valentine's Day. I highly recommend that.
Oh, I suggest that they go to see Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn.
Why not do a double header and watch both of them?
There you go. Thanks very much, guys.
We'll talk to you soon.
As always, fellow puddins, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Remember, don't be do-gooder dorks and come listen to us with the Penny Dreadful podcast, but also the darkness of space with our Star Trek Picard coverage. And of course, the even darker Black Widow, because it's in her name. And after that, we'll speak with you again soon.
Bye.
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 Welcome back to Movies on TV Podcast Industries. We're here with our spoiler-filled... Spoiler? Oh, God. Sean Connery.
Spoiler.
Yes. Well, I'd love to know what the subject matter of Dead Pigs is, actually. But, yeah, no, that's...
I'm assuming kind of... I was going to say equine. No, what was this?
Porcine.
I'm assuming bovine and
Nope.
death.
Porcine. Bovine is cows.
That's your outtake there. I'm assuming porvine and kind of death, if we're going to say anything.
Porcine, so pork-ine.
I'm assuming porcine and death.
Huntress is played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Sorry. The crossbow killer. Not the Huntress, it's the crossbow killer. But yeah, she is played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
They call her the Huntress, she says to many, many people. She calls herself the Huntress.
No, hang on. It's Helena Bertinelli.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that landed
No,
like...
You were so tentative, I thought you were correcting us.
No. There's my outtake.